Relax.
All right. Hello to anyone who's here or will see this in the future. Um, I am so excited to introduce you guys to Andre McBride, who is the founder, um, run Speedmaster of AM Speed, and he's new on Substack, so definitely go follow him.
Very new.
He he's fantastic. I don't need to get well, you'll hear yourself when we start chatting. But before you tell me about yourself, because I want to keep people here, um, can kids actually get fast?
Yes. And that is probably the biggest misconception that I heard is that speed is natural. I will say there is a learning curve. So the younger the better. So 9, 10, 11, 12, much easier than 17, 18. They will still speed develop. It's just at 24, and that's not as beneficial for most sports.
Yeah, so I'm 24, obviously.
Yeah. So
So you can
you
make
can
me
still get
fast.
faster.
You can't. You're saying you can't make me fast. At 24, I'm over the hill already.
Yeah, you can do it. It's you just really be safe. Would be my recommendation.
All right. So okay, so just tell people about yourself and like how you got started in this world. I know you've trained people that have gone on to NFL and pro soccer and all that. So
Yes.
pump yourself up here for a minute.
Yeah, so I started running track in the ninth grade, but it was not for track, it was for other sports. I just wanted to stay busy, so I did football, I did basketball, and then the track season came around and I ended up being fast. So because I was fast, I kept doing it. Um, and it just became one of those reinforcement things where because I was like really good for my school, I was sent to this specialized coach and we trained at Laney. And I was like with a group where I was one of the slowest people. I was losing the girls. I was like almost setting my school record, but I just could not beat these girls who were the same age as me. And all my coach did was technique, 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 technique. And I was confused because I'm like, I thought you had to run to be fast, but all he focused was on mechanics and power. So I was blessed. I ended up becoming a state finalist 4 to 5 times. I ended up becoming top five all time on NorCal. And I went to college and got slow. And when I got slow, I was confused because I was running miles, hills, sprints, doing the hardest work of my life. However, we did no technique. So in the time I wasn't noticing it. I was just like, how am I working so hard but getting slower? And then the next year it comes, my old coach becomes the sprint coach at Oregon. Then he was a national championship. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I think I think there's a gap here to where these coaches might think that running may be a little bit more important than teaching how to run. So I ended up transferring to Northridge because there was the Team USA sprint coach there and I got to understudy him, and his side name was Hurdle Mechanic. So he was big on mechanics, big on technical, and I saw it again where the focus was on technique over running. He had Olympians. I think that one of those years he won gold, silver, and bronze with his group. So they swept the medals podiums. And from there, I just really started to keep that in my head. Moved back to the Bay and watched a bunch of kids move around and was like, oh my gosh, I don't think any of these kids actually know how to run. So that ended up starting my coaching journey where I was just like, I want to teach kids how to run. I didn't expect for it to grow as big as it did. I just had one kid. He ended up becoming really good when pro as a sophomore. I had another kid that ended up
Pro
going to
in
the
soccer as a sophomore?
yeah. Another kid, my first two kids, my second kid went to the University of Oklahoma, and she ended up getting fourth in the state. So that was when I started to double down. Like there could be something here about focusing on moving right over just trying to move, and that's the gap that I really started to observe.
Awesome. So I know that you work with Array. Not everybody just goes and is like top five in the state in Oklahoma. You work with a range of athletes, and some of them probably don't inherently even want to run. They just want to get faster for like, basketball, football, volleyball, like whatever sport they're doing. So when you get a kid, right, like any kid, I guess, how do you evaluate them? What are you looking at?
Yeah. So the beautiful part of movement is it's all the same. So I can train every sport like it's track. The only difference, I have to teach you how to stop. Um, and I just have to make sure you know when you're changing directions, there's a different action and then repeat track. What a lot of kids don't do is after they change that direction, they start doing different mechanics than what an actual sprint is. And that's where a track gap can be. So the first thing I'm traditionally trying to just see is do they have balance? Do they have coordination? Um, if you can't stand on one leg, then you probably are not able to sprint nearly as well as you think because there's a lot of imbalance.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at can you stand on one leg? Okay, is your foot pointed directly to the right? A lot of kids have feet pointed out, which lead to injuries. So the very first thing I'm looking is to just see like, does the kid actually know how to raise and land straight? And my belief is like you start from the feet, and if their foot doesn't move correct, then you have to stop. And I really mean that because I've seen too many injuries when that's not a priority.
Yeah. So is it for people that aren't in the Bay Area, which is most people on here, I think, or that will watch this in the future? Would you advise people like standing on one leg? Would that be like the first basic thing you would have kids do?
Yes, but in the mirror.
Ugh.
Because if you don't see, you probably won't be aware. So like there are a lot of kids who have zero inkling that their entire knee and foot is pointed out. So they have to be able to look and see, do I raise straight? So like for soccer, for example, too many coaches don't make the kids switch. So because they frequently kick on one leg, I can almost guarantee that one of the kids' plant leg is here and then the other leg is cricket. So like I can pretty much tell your sport just by seeing the direction of your legs because it's not prioritized. The same with basketball. I frequently see feet pointed out because that's how they play defense. So a lot of the ways people train will actually just reinforce injury if you're not careful and like isolating and switching the movements.
Okay. Isn't looking at yourself in the mirror harder than not?
I mean, it is one of the most simple concept. Like I'm amazed at the amount of people who don't believe in balancing before you sprint. Like it's from a I watch people all the time when they do technique, they will shoot perfect. If they squat, they have their feet perfect, and then they will go to run, and then every action, and then they go to shoot, and then their arms just perfectly get in sync.
Yeah.
So like I really have to, and a lot of my kids buy in because they don't want to run. So once I make them realize they can get faster without running, I instantly become their favorite coach. Um, and it's because if you're at practice and you're running the entire practice, don't need to make you run. I just need to make sure that your body is going to be able to handle that load. So yeah, first recommendation, look in the mirror, stand on one leg, make sure they're actually can stand on that leg straight and that their feet and their knee is pointed forward. That alone
And Andre, you do that with both legs, I assume? Well, no, yeah.
it's a high chance one leg will be significantly stronger. So that's one of the first things you want to figure out. Like, do they have a leg that is more powerful? Is one side easier? Do I have an imbalance? Because your body is not supposed to land sideways. So every single time you do it, you're playing Russian roulette. And that's my biggest fear with soccer and basketball. Like, there's never really an emphasis on looking at how they land. So I just see knee injury after knee injury after knee injury.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get into some of like the prevention stuff in a sec, but wondering just what makes a good runner, like overall. No, that's a broad question.
I would I would probably say attention to detail. Um, uns The sad part about speed is when you're running fast, you won't know. So if a kid comes with a mindset that I'm going to race, that I'm going to try to move as fast as I can, and that I'm going to do this drill as hard as I can, it's very hard to make them improve. Because these actions are so unnatural that you have to think. So I would say like my top athletes are kind of perfectionists, like the athletes who like they really get annoyed when they aren't doing something right. They're able to understand the purpose of something. So if I say do an acceleration, they will accelerate. Versus it's very easy to just practice. And the number one thing I see is a kid will practice and have no clue why they're doing anything. So they can do the same drills, but just be doing it all wrong just because they're competing over actually thinking about development.
Yeah. How do you what do you think are like the most common bad habits that people new to you have?
Impatience, I would say. Um, there's a is that it's contrary to belief, you have to be fresh in order to sprint. So like you have to take 2 to 3 minute breaks. So I have kids who just do a drill, walk back, do a drill, walk back, do a drill. I'm like, catch your breath. Like you're not going to be that fast. Or like essentially they believe that you have to condition yourself to get in shape, to be fast. So they just want to run over and over. And I tell them like if you're running wrong, you're not going to get nearly as fast as you think. So I have to really make the kids understand prioritizing correct movements and that this is something that you have to do 3 times a week, not on one-offs. And most kids don't have the patience, and when they don't see the results, they just fly away to their own like beliefs.
It's a long term. Do you have an example of someone, of one of your clients or whomever that started off and persevered and, wound up winning an Olympic gold or something?
So, I mean, I have, I mean, the amount of stories is like through the roof. Just I was a sprint coach at San Leandro, and I tell like all of my kids like stay 3 years. Like please stay year two, you'll see it. Year three, you'll see it. I have about 6 kids, and this happens every year. Where their freshman year, they're like in track terms, they're running like a 12, like, and that's what girls run. And then their next year, they just completely drop the whole second. And it's because the first year their body was trying to figure out what was happening. Year two, they dropped the second. Now they know what's happening. They stay with me year three, half second drop, because now their body is really starting to develop. And and
Mhm.
I have kids at Boise. I had a kid go to Miami. Another kid go to San Jose State. I have kids at Santa Barbara. And all of them, like the guys that were losing the girls as freshmen, but because of like they stayed with it, they actually allowed their systems to develop. And I think that's the biggest misconception is like people try to make speed seem like it's a short fix, but there's
Yeah.
nothing you can do overnight that is going to fix it. It just has to become something that becomes a consistent part of your day to day.
Yeah. Andre, I'm just wondering, because obviously not everyone, you have a lot of soccer players, you have basketball, you have all the things. Do you train kids differently? And do you teach a different technique at all based on the sport that they're doing?
Yeah. Yes and no. So every movement goes the same across every sport. The one thing I do always say is like real race replica, meaning every action you do, make sure it's something that you actually do. Like, don't just do something to do it. So when I'm training basketball, when I'm training soccer, the main difference is I'm making them start out of multiple variated positions. So with track, we're always going to face forward. But with other sports, you just have to make sure that they know I might have to go left, right, sideways. So the only difference is I just change the way that they're starting and I teach them how to accelerate out of those positions. And then from there, I advance to teaching them how to stop. And then I teach them how to accelerate, stop, accelerate, and then I turn it into a cut. So it all starts with accelerating. You can train all of them the same. You just do it from different positions because again, track you can take forever. But the main difference, I do not let my soccer, I do not let any field sport know when I say go. And that's what I would say is the worst thing you can do for a field sport. If you set them up to think that they can have a set go, it is rare where in the game they're going to actually have that set go chance. So like I really will say like look to the side, oh, because I have to train the reaction time to get a little bit of that unnatural. So it's more about the positions and then just making sure it's more reactive versus standard.
Gotcha. What about the injury piece that you talk about, and like I hear like acceleration and stop and go and I'm like, "Oh,
Yes.
Achilles and ACLs and all the things." Like, so what are you doing to, or just what are your thoughts generally on what speed training can do to
So with
minimize? I don't want to say prevent, to
yeah.
minimize the chances.
So my basic concept is balance, power, speed. And after you find balance, then you start to put in power. And the result will be speed. If you start to put in that power and you don't have balance, that's when a lot of these injuries start to happen. Um, like I think of speed as music, and I think like there's a rhythm and there's like a equilibrium and there's a sweet spot. So if you land in that sweet spot, you're going to just get a boost. If you land in anywhere else, it's going to like hamper your movement. So what I like try to teach a lot of kids is like there's only one way to move, and every time you don't move that way, something is compensating. So like the top thing I see, for example, you always have to land under your body. Where people mistake themselves is when they move forward they don't realize that their feet are behind them. So what they will do is they will move forward and they will land in front of their bodies when in reality they're supposed to land with their feet behind themselves, but it's very unnatural. So I see knee injury after knee injury after knee injury because people are actually taking a step and then slamming with their bodies in front just because they're not aware that you always have to match your feet. So like with most of my kids, I just teach them how to accelerate, and that alone will transform their performance because that is where a lot of the power occurs. And a lot of the kids, they just step in front of their bodies, and that's why so many injuries occur. I'm trying to sound simple. I don't know if this is making sense, but that's
No, no, totally, totally. No, I mean, it's obviously it gets more complicated as I'm sure you're working with kids and whatnot, but I think the general concepts of that, make a lot of sense. Before I forget too, I'm why do so many, I mean, adults also, but why do so many kids like flail their arms around when they run, if I can use
yes.
side like that? Does that
And
drive you nuts? It drives me nuts, and I'm not even a speed coach.
yeah, I mean, I will say it has substantially helped my career working with basketball, baseball, and soccer. Especially
Oh yeah.
yeah, the soccer swing. Um, and that was what I was like. That's what I was shocked about. Literally, just teaching them the basic track arm swings just makes them so much better, and it's more so a time allocation situation. So what I have to tell my kids is like, hey, you're not going to have time to do speed work. You're in this AAU circuit. You have a game every weekend. You're going to have to go home and do these drills because they're not natural. So the reason why people don't run correct is because none of the actions are natural. So like it's not just gonna happen.
But it's
Like I
natural to go like this?
yes, it like it is when you walk, your arms are straight. You should never run with your arms straight. When you walk, you kick back. When you run, you always want to kick forward. When you
Yeah.
sit, it is like you're in a crunch position. You
Mhm.
always want to be tall. So it's
Mhm.
like your day to day actually guides you to having bad mechanics. And that's why I have to tell people like you have to be very conscious to fix it because if you're not aware of it, you're just going to get worse. Especially if you got to kick, learn to play defense, shoot, pass. Like there's so many actions that you have to do. Coaches just don't prioritize the speed because you can be as fast as you want if you can't catch, and it's not going to matter as much.
Right. What about I mean, I assume the same thing applies like when you're going backwards, like on defense and soccer, basketball. Like, are you just doing the opposite essentially?
So yeah, so I would say the top thing I've realized is, and this is a perfect example. I had a guy, his name was like Vince Manley, and he went to the NFL Combine and he paid like a substantial amount of money to work on his 40. And he ran a very slow 40 time for a wide receiver, like 4.6, like which is not good.
Yeah.
When I saw him, I was training and I saw him doing drills, and I was like, yo, you're more powerful than me. Like, ain't no way you ran a 4.6. And then I watched him, and when he does his first step, and I'll try to show it with this, he didn't know to squat. So he literally just ran up in the sky and went forward. And all I taught him was how to squat as he took a step, and that made his body go this way. And then that alone made his 40 drop to a 4.4 in 1 week. So it was never that he was slow. It's just if you don't understand leverage and the concept of like, if I'm not squatting and I try to push and my leg has to land behind me, it's
Mhm.
physically impossible. And it's the same with a back pedal. If I have to go back that way, the best way is to get my body to essentially lean back. So I have to get low. So, like, what I always see whenever a kid changes direction, there is just zero understanding that you have to get low so your body can push.
Boop, boop. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, like,
it's all going in
just,
my head as you're saying it, like the visualization.
and so what I would do is, like, I mean, I'm stubborn and I know my kids are stubborn. So, like, my favorite thing to do is contrast training. So, I'm going to make you do wrong, right, wrong, right. And I'm going to let you tell me which one is better. It is rare where I've asked somebody to backpedal standing up, and then I asked them to backpedal sitting down, and they did not see a difference. So a lot of the kids, unfortunately, if you don't make them do it the wrong way and then the right way, they kind of won't believe you. So I have to like really make them feel the difference, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, that's stupid. Why did I not do that?" And I'm like, "Hey, look, I'm just here to help."
Yeah. Hey, Andre, one of from Paul. Do you see this question? I've looked at this
Yeah,
right now.
they'll
Oh,
slow to
this is
react to the
volleyball
ball.
coach. Are you able to answer this? A volleyball coach see two issues with girls who are new to the game and usually new to sports. First thing is they are slow to react to go to the ball. How do you improve that initial read on first explosive stuff?
So that goes back to my earlier question when I said never say set go when they're ready, because if you make them think that there's going to be in the line set go, then their body is going to get accustomed to that. With any non-track sport, we gotta just they can never know when you're going to make them start. Like pretty much in every drill, I would like, hey, I say everybody talk to your friends. Cool. Like, and you have to make sure while they're talking to their friends before they go, they dip then go. Because if they're just tall, it might seem like they're reacting slow, but they just don't have the leverage that's going to let them explode. So like, and I'll try to show it. I have my kids just do that all day
Is
because
that
I
the
say like,
squatting that you're doing?
yes, I said like you have to dip so quickly that we can't even know it happened because it's just all you're trying to do is to get yourself the leverage to explode. So with a lot of new people, they don't even understand the concept of leverage, so they're often just up high. Um, and then the other thing is you have to do intentionally fast things for short intervals 3 times a week. So like my kids would do a 10-second hop, long break. 10-second hop, long break. And kids and like most coaches aren't aware that you have to do stuff very fast, long break. very fast, long break, and then that starts to transform their systems. Um, but if you like, and that's why I said it takes time because there's nothing you can do that's going to speed up the process. But the more you do it, the more it starts to translate.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. I'm always curious, and I know that it might be different when they're going to play like a full game of something versus your training, but I just want your thoughts on nutrition. Like, do people do you need to do the carb load night before? What should they
Yeah.
eat for a meet, a
Eh,
game, whatever, recovery?
Um. Yeah. And super quick, I saw a comment when 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 I teach arms, I try to teach people. I teach people to go tuck, and then like I basically say you want to go mouth down to your hip and then back up. So I have to teach people a U action, and then I have to teach them you have to be intentionally stop out your mouth, go down intentional to your hip, and then intentionally go up, and then intentionally switch. Because with most kids, they might just go forward and back, or they might like swim because they're not aware that their arms actually help them. So like the number one thing I do with kids is I give them drills to do at home with arms in the mirror, because that's what actually messes them up the most. And transitioning to your question, diet matters a lot, and mm, kids aren't. That is one of the hardest things to get kids to listen to. But my kids, for the most part, they have transformed their diet once you break it down. So every action requires a specific protein. So I tell my kids the first three steps requires a specific protein and muscle. The next 3 to 10 seconds requires another. Anything over 30 seconds requires another. If those foods are not in your body, you will not be able to produce those actions. And if
Wow.
you do produce those actions, you're going to get tired significantly faster because your body is pulling that energy from a spot it's not supposed to. So, like, don't eat because you want to be healthy. You need to understand every action your body does, there's a specific muscle group that is aligned with that food wise. And I learned this from eating ramen noodles before repeats. Um,
Not
and
not the protein you were looking for. I assume that's not you're not going to recommend.
yeah, I'm like, wait, whenever I eat noodles, I just don't survive. Versus when I eat like salad and these meats, the workout. But it's like when I was in high school, it didn't matter. Like I could bounce back. When I got to college and I was in the Pac-12 and I was racing national champions, I was like, you know what? I should probably think about the way. And most kids don't even know that food does that. So like they're not even gonna think, oh, I'm tired in this repeat because of what I ate last night.
Yeah. So what's some ideal meal? Because say for a kid who's going to play a soccer match, they're like a winger. They're running the whole time, changing positions.
So
Body position.
think meat, like meats are for power. And I'm not a pro in this, but from what learning, veggies and like more green is for distance. So
Oh,
like from what I've been observing, like longer you go, the more you want to make sure that you have like a lot of like greens, veggies, and other things. But if you're going to do quick, explosive, powerful movements, that's when I was seeing like the protein, the steak, and the things of that sort. So like there's even a world where some athletes will eat like every other day to reflect that they have a power day, endurance day. Because during those endurance days is when you're going to need more of that protein.
okay.
I mean,
What
not
about?
endurance. During the power days.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. What about how important are rest days? Like how much do these athletes be resting?
Yeah. So majority of my kids, we train 2 to 3 times a week, and people don't believe it. And like you really don't need to train a lot because like your body has to recover. The number one thing that I see destroy athletes is they don't give themselves 48 hours. So like I have a parent. Her kid is a national. Like I trained her. She won a national champ in the 800 and the 15. She also is a basketball player on two AAU teams that would play games right after she would run the 8 and the 15. I had to like say like, hey, like I
Yeah.
get it's a free day. You see free day, you think Brain Andre. But like I want you to be aware, like you need 48 hours after doing a very explosive action because your body has to recover. And coaches, they want to do so much, they just can't accept it.
Yeah.
And like I've stuck into this principle 3 days a week, sprint, 48-hour break. In between, you can be technical, you can do cardio, you can do slow things, but you have to train your central nervous system, and that has to have a 48-hour recovery. And like I ask every kid, so how frequent have you done a 30-yard sprint, 3 minute break? 30-yard sprint, 5 to 8 minute break, 30-yard sprint, 5 to 8 minute break. That was the workout. They will say, never. And I would say,
Yeah.
great, your parent is about to love me. Like I have a retain, and I don't mean to bring like your kids into this, but your little one, I saw him was like, "What happened to you? Like, how did what? When did you get fast?" And then he was like, I just done it," and I only seen him what 3 times over a 3 month period.
Yeah.
So if you make sure kids know how to move forward and not
Yeah.
how to run back, if you teach a kid balance, that alone is going to like change how they move because if most kids can't stand in place and their parents look at them sprinting, be like, yeah, they wobble so much. You can't stand on one leg. Like, what do you? So, like, standing on one leg is crucial. Making sure they know how to squat is crucial because that is a start to every single action. And then the concept of breaks with quick actions 3 times a week. And it goes against, like, I don't even make my kids lift. I would love to make them lift, but like, if I'm only seeing them 1 or 2 times a week, I have to maximize what I do. So
Yeah.
I just see so many kids do actions that aren't maximizing their movement. So what happens is they just waste opportunities to get better. And if they know how to move, you can do a normal practice, but they will still get better.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I appreciate this. I know a couple people came on and joined late, but this is gonna go out again in like written form of the whole thing. And but I guess okay, first of all, are you gonna do so Andre has a Substack. I think you can click on it and subscribe. Are you gonna do anything with it? Are you like literally he just joined, I think yesterday.
Yes. I'm definitely open. I feel like I have a good person who introduced me to it. So I can so I can have some conversations and just figure out the best way. Because honestly, like one of the main things that I'm passionate about is injury prevention. Um and I feel like speed is so much easier to do. And like the amount of confidence that I see drop from kids or the amount of kids that I see injured just because they don't know like your foot's supposed to land flat versus they're constantly having their toes pointed down. It's like that is the main thing that I'm like trying to just spread out. So I would definitely post more content. And yeah, if you have any questions or thoughts like that, like I'm an open book, so definitely feel free to follow me and reach out as well.
Yeah, well, you obviously hate talking, so no, but there's great. I think we even have like a PT on. There's just a great network on Substack of coaches and PT, just people that are really in this world. So I hope that you stick around here and thank you, Andre, and appreciate. I'd like to maybe do this again and get deeper into maybe the injury prevention piece or something. But
Yes, we can have a deeper conversation about the top things that get people injured and how to prevent it. If I can leave everyone with one thing, teach your kids how to squat without their knees buckling forward and look up what it means to push back. So that those two things will save a lot of kids because those are the concepts that I have to like teach everyone. But definitely like we can do this again. Enjoy the community as well.
awesome. Thank you so much, Andre. Thanks to the you people that are here and Yeah, have a great weekend.
Alrighty. See you soon.
Bye.